Well, good morning, everybody. It's a Sunday morning here in the Philippines. Mel and I go through all of these receipts on the house bill, just getting it all divided up by which vendor, which store that we bought what from. And this is City Hardware across here, and this is starting by years. Going back when we first bought the property, you see we hardly had nothing. Then the second year we only had maybe like 4 receipts. Now this is about before y'all even knew us on the vlog. We just bought the property only. Then we had another year after that, just a few receipts again, City Hardware, following year. And then let's see, the vlog probably started about right here. We had the property, but we weren't vlogging, we weren't building on the property. Then the vlog probably started right about here. Then that world issue happened right around in this time, and everything kind of ground to a stop, y'all know, for a while. And then we picked back up right here, and let's see here, these are for 2021. Now 2021 looks like we were pretty busy during 2021 buying stuff from City Hardware because we were really deep into the build at that point in time. And then the year that really blossomed, because that's at the time that we are actually doing finish out work in the house, and we need a lot of different things. It's 2022 here. That's our 2022 receipts. Some of these are very small for just little small items. I mean, look here, this receipt didn't even total but, you know, a few hundred pesos, 200 and something pesos maybe was the total on it. And some of them are larger. And then this is our 2023, which is actually less receipts than 2022. 2022 was definitely the year on that. Then we got things over here like FLS Enterprises. Well, those are probably going to be backed up more at the beginning of the bill, because those had to do more with actual hard construction materials, steel and concrete and all. And we got others the same way. We've got different ones. There's more steel that we bought right there, different items that she's got divided up. And then somewhere there's a stack for this company, a local hardware store called Naladas here. And we bought a lot of stuff from Naladas. Then eventually we had people like Wilcon. We finished work. Those are going to fall also into the same year as these years. Most of them are, because we're buying finish out stuff, tilings and all of that for the house. These receipts right here, these are soil and stone people. Most of that is going to fall back also, backfilling the lot in here, buying sand and stone while we were building the house, the clean river sand, the clean washed stone that we built the house with. Most of it came from this people right here, and including a little bit of boulders too for the gaming cages, but they weren't as good a supplier for boulders as Dragonstone was. But we really got it broke down here. We'll probably do some total outs on some of this, but the house is, 95% done. And just the other little cabinetry work, that's really about all that's left here. It's probably further than 95% done. But we're going through all of this, working down through all the receipts, and I'm going to go make sure that I didn't put some anywhere else and I have forgot about them. But this is how we're spending our morning, doing a little bookkeeping before we leave. We're going to organize all this, get it all in these folders. We can reflect fast by these being divided by years of certain items, especially hard building materials like steel and concrete, that we can see the progression of the cost of materials, of where it took a jump all of a sudden. And it went from being very reasonable to build to very expensive to build. I'd hate to be building right now, I just tell you, I really would. But that's how we're spending our morning right there. That is it. going to give you a little rundown on some equipment here and show you how this is all connected before we roll out of here back to Texas. So we're going to begin right here. This is the heart of it all right here. This is a what they call an 11,000 watt max. 11,000 watt max. Voltronics is the company that designed this, and it's marketed underneath many different names. And there's a couple different manufacturers of it working off of that design. This design has already been used for a couple of years now, but this 11,000 watt max, it is a new model right now. It's a pretty impressive unit. I'll show you the tag here on the end of it. Some of the key takeaways here are like underneath the solar charger mode. Right there you see Max Solar VOC. That's open circuit, 500 volt DC. That is very important. And the rating right there is 5,500 watts times 2 because it has 2 MPPT chargers inside of it. 2 separate ones, so it's times 2, making it an 11,000 watt unit. And as you see up here at the top, also the rated power and all as well. Now another thing you might want to see here is that this is a 48 volt. If you see inverter mode up there, 48 volt DC, 228 amp, and we will talk about that. My old units were 24 volt units, and my batteries are 24 volt batteries, 24, 24, 24, 24. And what I have done is these two are parallel together, so those two together are still 24. These two are parallel together, they're still 24. And then I have them brought into a series in the middle right there, turning this 24 and this 24 into a 48 volt bank. And the BMS that communicates in between them, the CAN bus in between them right there, is all still connected, and it still sees themselves as 24 volt units right there, but at the main source coming up is 48 volt, and everything's working just fine on that. It's working great. So up here in this unit, I didn't choose like the profile for a battery that's already 48 volt and it's got CAN bus and everything in it. Instead, it's set on user defined, and I set the parameters that I needed for these batteries right here. This is the DC cables coming in right here. These are the ACs coming in for charging, the AC coming out, and this is the 2 different solar arrays, and they are on DC breakers right here covering those. So coming over here, this is my breaker panel that operates my house. That's my main, and this is the breakers to all the different individual circuits inside the home. So I'll show you what I have going right here. It's what they call a double throw, okay? And meaning that you can either choose one power source or the other. Now, I hope I don't get too confusing here because I might lose you right here at this one. But this breaker right here is the power coming from Iloilo, okay? This is Iloilo, that's our power company here. Iloilo main power. Iloilo on, if it's up, Iloilo off. And I say right here, never have both on at the same time. Now it's impossible with this rod here, but if you was to remove this cover and you were servicing it, this rod's no longer giving you that safety, and you could accidentally turn both on at the same time. So, you know, you've just got to use common sense sometimes, and never have both of these on at the same time, which is, like I say, impossible with this. But if you remove the cover, you don't have that anymore. Now, back in the United States and some other countries and all, there's a way better method than what there is here in the Philippines. They have some boxes and all that even have it built into it. That'll all be built in up here and have a slide and a choice. There's a whole lot of better options in some other countries. I'm very aware of that. They'll have a unit up here that can only have one or other turn on for the main, with a bar built inside, that even if you pulled the cover, the hardware is still in there protecting that from happening. Definitely better equipment than was offered right here. But this is what we have here, and these are very common throughout the Philippines, especially them running generators also. They would put a generator over here on one side, the electric company on the other side, and either you're going to be running off the generator or you're going to be running off the power company. So right here it says solar main power. So all the power coming from that inverter that we just looked at up there, it's coming in right here. Now you see it's on, and you see I have the power company off right here. Now does that mean that the power company is completely off of this house? No. This is right here if I wanted to run the house only off Iloilo and not off the solar. Say I need to service this equipment over here. Say I need to take down my inverter blows out, it's not working, whatever could possibly happen. Maybe I just want to do a little blowout and cleaning inside of it, and I want to shut it all down, but we need to keep the house going. Well, I would flip all the solar power off. I'd wait a few minutes, let the refrigerator compressor balance out its gases inside on the lines, and I let the air conditioners do the same thing, kind of let everything get back to a rest, and then I would flip Iloilo on. Now the house would be running only off Iloilo and no longer off the solar. Okay? Now, when I said it gets tricky, because this doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not running anything off Iloilo right now, is because there's a secondary breaker coming up off of the main lugs from outside, and it's this one right here, and it says charge batteries from Iloilo. Okay, and you see I have it on. So that doesn't mean this power right here is not going to operate the house. It's not going here to this main. This power right here coming up from Iloilo is only to go over here into this unit right here and charge my batteries, because this has a DC, it has an AC to DC charger inside of it that can charge the batteries. Now right now we're not charging the batteries off of it. You see that little squiggly line right there? That is the power, sorry my shaky hand, that is the power that's from Iloilo that could charge the batteries if the batteries got too low. But right now, it's still operating the system. Right now on this cloudy day, it's running the system. Everything is coming in off the MPPT chargers, and it takes a little bit from the battery too if it needs to. So this upper little squiggly line means it's taking some from the battery. Right now, it's not at all, see? That just disappeared. Sorry, the shaky hand. That's a little trouble when you got nerve conditions. And so right now we're running 100% off solar only, and the wind's charging over there too. So look, we're gaining charge into the batteries right this minute. You see that? I'm glad I caught that when it did it. So when we first walked up, it was taking power from the solar panels and power from the battery both at the same time for whatever load it had. Maybe an air conditioner compressor maybe came on temporarily and need a little backup power. And now it's back to just running off of the solar, and it's DC to DC charging right now at the same time, charging the batteries, and it's providing load out to the mains and operating the house. But if all the battery status got too low, this one right here coming from the grid would kick on, and it'd get a little squiggly line showing that it's helping carry that load, or it's carrying all the load. But right now, as you see, we're running 100% off of solar only, not off the batteries, off the solar, and it is actually charging the battery and operating the house at the same time on this cloudy day. Now, right here, this little P2 right here, that is the MPPT charger for side 2. You've got side 1 and 2. And then I can move it up here to 1, and this is 1. So on this cloudy day, and this is only 12 panels connected up there right now, my older panels. On this cloudy day, I'm getting under 500 watts on that one. And go down here to P2, and I'm getting just under 500 watts also. So maybe about 900, almost 1,000 watts coming in there on this very cloudy day off of those 12 panels. And this is why that wind generator comes in so important, because you might think you have a lot of power up there with solar panels, but that power is very limited. You're never going to max out the power probably on those panels. If you had a 3,000 watts of panels up there, you might always only be getting a fraction of that. So don't ever think, oh, I got 3,000 watts of panels, I can pump 3,000 watts. Slim chance of that happening. But right now, off 12 panels, it's maybe 335 watts each. I'm getting about, let's just say, around 450 each off of them right now. So about 1,000 watts on a very cloudy day. There's no sunshine at all right now. You can see it's a very overcast day right here. So there is no sunshine. Now, what is helping me out on this right now on this cloudy day, that's keeping my battery bank up really good, is the wind generator. And this equipment right here is totally separate, has nothing to do with this equipment right here. These are two different Mohicans. And this is pumping power down to the battery separate than this is on its own. These are two different things. They are not combined together, other than they both go down and charge the batteries. So not only am I getting this battery charging right here, but I'm also getting battery charging right here from the wind as well. But that's only because I added wind on here. You may not have that, but I'm gonna tell you, it's been a true blessing. It really has. But when you start taking the batteries all the way to their max charge state, and you start taking them all the way down to their maximum depleted state for each cycle, you're going to shorten the life of your batteries. So I don't do that, okay? I leave a buffer. I keep it above the minimum and I keep it below the maximum. And I work in that range in between, and that way I'll get nice longevity out of these batteries, less heating on the cells, which can cause less structural damage to the interior of the cells and all, and a breakdown from running them from one extreme to the other constantly. Now many people come out and that's what they'll set it up to do, and you won't know it, and it will knock out the longevity out of your system. They will let it go to rock bottom, and they'll let it go all the way to the top. That way that can impress you and show you how much power you're getting out of that. But you're going to get that power for less years then, and you're going to start depleting down. Now, lithium's not like lead acid. Lead acid is a very small zone that you can use on there, and the batteries, when you run on full cycle constantly, they're not going to last near like the lithium batteries are. You're going to talk about a few years versus possible decades with lithium, according to how you use it. My batteries a lot of times stay almost in a full state of charge, somewhere between 3/4 to full. I'd say that maybe there's only once or twice in an entire month, and sometimes for many months when we hit summer season here in the Philippines past rainy season, would we ever drop all the way down to the lowest state of charge, which mine set at 48 volts, before it would either want to charge off the grid or start giving me a warning that we've got getting a low battery state. And then I have a set point to where it'll just shut the inverter off until power comes back. Now, I've never reached that. I never have, because I make sure that I put ample batteries to cover myself for that. And you've got to be smart with yourself. If you know that there's a limited source of energy coming in, like the sun, don't run everything in your entire house, don't just be all wide open, willy-nilly with everything. You've got every air conditioner on, every TV on, lights are on, fans are on, everybody's just doing their thing like there's no tomorrow. Do your due diligence, be a little conservative. It's a cooler day. Do I really need every air conditioner on? Maybe I could just use a fan today. Now, we usually always leave one running because we like to pull the humidity out of the house. Do I need everything on and going? So you also got to take some personal responsibility and just conserve a little bit, which is a good practice to do even if you're not on solar. Let's see here on the, look here, we're making bouncing anywhere from 300 all the way up, sometimes even a 400. On wind, it's kind of erratic. It's all over the place. You see right there. Thanks, and that's just half of it. There's 2 of these. So this times 2. Yep, so that wind right there right now is bringing me in almost 1,000 watts of power at the moment. Now I must admit that I do plan on putting a second wind generator there. I'm gonna shop around and see if I can find one at a reasonable price that I like. Now I'm probably not gonna buy a wind generator out of China, but then again I might. We'll see. This company, SunSmart, also manufactures wind generators, and I've been talking to them about possibly sending one down and letting me test it and promote it here on the channel, or give me a discount on it and I'll promote it. You know, I'm trying to get that little game on, right? A little hustle. So we'll see how that works out, but I didn't want to follow up too much on it right now before we leave to go back over to Texas. Now I want to talk about regrets. Okay, I'm going to tell my regrets. All right, so my regrets are that I did not buy a 48 volt system from day one. My regrets are I did not buy a 48 volt battery bank from day one. Do not follow my mistake. I'm going to tell you why I made that mistake, and then I'm going to tell you why you don't need to follow suit with me. Okay. 48 volt without a doubt is superior. It is absolutely superior. When you're having to take 48 volt DC and convert it over to even like here 220, 230 volt AC, that's a lot of more work. It's got to happen in those transformers and all of the circuitry to carry that power up to that state. And it actually takes even larger cabling and all. There's more resistance taking place. It is not as efficient, okay? So if you're going to wonder, well then why did you do it? Why did you go with 24 volt? And I'll tell you why. Safety. In the beginning, when we came here, Melinda's family was in a lot more what you might call raw state than what they are right now. I brought them a long ways. I have. And the ones that's been here with me in this work crew and all, I've taught a lot of discipline, and I take time and I stop and I teach them about this equipment. Now I can't say that I do it with Joel or Nardo or any of that, but Mop and like Marvin, I teach them. And I try to teach Melinda, but she's pretty stubborn. But I teach them, and that way somebody besides me can have at least a little bit understand what's going on, just for the basics. But in the beginning, it was the Wild West, okay? In the beginning, it was the Wild West, and a lot of the kids had no discipline, and they're just running there. So I still have a little bit of that problem, but they're just getting into everything. They're touching everything. They poke, they prod, they got their hands on everything. And anything you lay down, a tool, a screwdriver, anything you turn around, it's gone. And even a little part, anything, man, you just had to constantly guard your stuff all the time. Still happens some. It's not over with, but it's way better than what it was. And this wasn't just from the kids, this from the adults as well. You know, just telling the truth. And this is a cultural thing that I'm dealing with, that maybe wherever you're at in this world, you're not going to have that problem at all, okay? But 24 volt is not so dangerous when it comes to the voltage penetrating the skin barrier and hitting your nervous system, okay? 12 volt, 24 volt, it's pretty safe as far as not getting shocked or electrocuted from it. Now you don't want to be standing on a wet floor or wet feet, and even then, even 12 volt can shock you in the right conditions, okay? but it won't be giving you that final knockout punch you may never come back from. I'm trying to be careful with certain words I say on here, okay? You know, the big brother is always telling you what you can and can't say in the world of Google. So I wanted safety, and 12 volt was way too low. Oh my God, to go from 12 volt all the way up to 220, 230 volt. They make some little small inverters, maybe a 3,000 watt maximum, that do that, but man, what a waste of time and energy. So a 48 volt with the batteries fully charged, they're at 50 something volts. That's a heart stopper. This is a wet country. There's always blowing rains. There's always people barefooted or with flip-flops on that are soaking wet, and they touch by accident any battery terminal anywhere. Maybe I'm not around and it's giving trouble and they're just going to try to wing it and see if they can figure it out, or so and so over here's an electrician, he knows, and they come over and they open it up and I'm not around. Boom. There might be someone with a heart stopped laying there. It's very unforgiving, and it will happen so fast, to where 24 volt doesn't have that issue, okay? So that's why I chose 24, was out of concern and safety with the family here. But it's come a long way since then, and I've got it up here. There's no connector anywhere right now they can touch, and we're going to build a little like closet over this right here, and it's going to have a lock on the door, and that's just going to give me more security against anybody messing around there whatsoever. Please, if you do not know what you're doing, be safe. Hire an electrician. Take safety protocols. Make sure that your batteries are disconnected. Make sure your AC power is disconnected. Take all measurements to not be touching live terminals. Do not do it, okay? I don't care how many times you're going to tell me you're invincible and you're Flash Gordon and everything else, and it's not going to affect you. There's that one time that it just may. So that's the reason that I chose in the beginning 24 volt over 48 volt. But the 48 volt from day one is the better choice, and you may not be in a safety situation that I was in. So I've upgraded now. I was able to still use my batteries, thank goodness, and just reconfiguring them to a 48 volt scenario, and that's a blessing that I was able to do that. And everything's running fine and perfect, but safety is the utmost. Now, I do this work myself, okay? But you may not be able to. And if you're not, you can easily cause a flash and burn or electrocute yourself, or set a place on fire, or hurt others around you. So if you are absolutely not confident in what you're doing and you don't take safety first, don't do it. Hire an electrician. Hire an electrician. And the thing is, electricians know they cost money. It's going to raise the cost up. But here in the Philippines, you can still do that underneath, pretty good rate. Not like back in the U.S. where they're really going to nail you hard. But do safety first. Safety first. Look at our 650. I just saw the wind generator making as much as 12 to 1400 watts just then. That's pretty radical, man. That's pretty cool. Of course, that's not constant, but man, that is still pretty cool to see it doing that. for everyone. I hope that this gives you a little bit more insight into the system right here and how its functionality works. It's a good little system. You can build this for a reasonable amount of money, and it has a pretty good payback